left his lips since the day Netanyahu told him to go screw himself. That is the situation that we're living in. That's where we are today in this peace process. What's really fascinating about this problem is that in poll after poll after poll taken of Israelis and Palestinians, massive majorities have accepted this two-state solution. The last time this poll was taken, 79% of Palestinians and 89% of Israelis said they accepted this outcome. That's phenomenal. 79% of Palestinians, 89% of Israelis. That's amazing. And yet, we are again not 1 inch closer to actually having this be a reality than we were 20 years ago, than we were 30 years ago. Not 1 inch. In fact, the argument is that we're even further from this. Why? Well, as we sit here today, about 78% of what is supposed to be Palestine is no longer Palestine. It's now Israel. 78% of mandated Palestine is now actually Israel. Basically about 18% or so. Yeah. So about 18% of the West Bank is still under Palestinian control. Israel has about 200,000 settlers in the West Bank, and that's growing every day. They have 200,000 settlers in East Jerusalem, and that's growing every day. The majority of these settlers are just normal people. They're just, just regular Israelis who need a place to live, and it's cheaper if you don't want to live in Jerusalem or if you don't want to live in Tel Aviv, you can't afford to live in those places. The government will help you rent or buy a house in Palestine. Why not? They want Jews there. They want Israelis there. They want to be there long enough so that there's no question about actually returning this land one day to the Palestinians. So for the most part, the vast majority of these settlers are just normal people. They're just wanting to, they just need a cheap place to live, and the government is giving them this opportunity to live in a really nice home, a really nice apartment in the occupied territories, and so they take it. However, a pretty substantial minority of these settlers are what we call ideological settlers. And they are there not because it's cheap and not because it's easy. They're there because they have no interest in ever allowing the creation of a Palestinian state. On the other side, on the Palestinian side, you have groups like Hamas, which we talked about a little bit in this class, who also have absolutely no interest in a two-state solution. They want all of Palestine back. That's their motto. This land was ours 60 years ago. We want all of it. Not half of it, not 18% of it, not a two-state solution, all of it. Which means all the Jews have to go. So what I'm trying to say is that despite the fact that you have these massive majorities in both Israel and Palestine who are totally willing to live side by side, who are completely willing to withdraw to the 67 borders, to share Jerusalem, to forget about the right of return, who have fully and thoroughly accepted the so-called two-state solution, these tiny, tiny minorities on either side, on the Israeli side and the Palestinian side, have kept that from happening for 60 years now. How? Well, on the Israeli side, you have these sort of radical Zionists. I've told you this term already before, Eretz Israel. Did I introduce this term to you? Oh, I'm sorry. Eretz Israel. Eretz Israel is the rallying cry of these sort of radical Zionist groups. What it means is the whole of the land of Israel, or what they really refer to as biblical Israel. That's what they're talking about. They're saying, no. See, our loyalty is not to the state of Israel. I mean, even if tomorrow Netanyahu woke up and said, you know what, I changed my mind, 2 states sounds good, you know, we're for it, let's do it. These Israelis would say, absolutely not. Because their loyalty is not to the prime minister. Their loyalty is not to the government of Israel. Their loyalty is to the biblical land of Israel. They believe that they are fulfilling the Bible. The Bible's promise, the promise made by God to Moses, that all of this land would belong to the inheritors of Abraham, right? This is the land of milk and honey, promised them, promised their forefathers by God Himself. So for them, the notion of splitting the country in half and giving half to the Palestinians, even if it's not half, even if it's just 20%, absolutely not. They will not abide by